Hello and welcome to the Richard Watkins podcast, episode 12. Listen, I just want to stop right there because just the ability to say episode 12 means just so very much to me. And I just wanted to take this episode to really kind of just talk about what we've been able to do. And we're just really, really excited. But before we obviously go any further, we have to give a shout out to one of the most amazing organizations that has ever existed, right? Of course, I'm biased because they're the organization that makes it possible for us to be with you all every single week. And that is the Science Policy Action Network, or SPAN Inc., a consulting firm, a lobbying firm, whatever you need. If you're looking for innovation, or if you have questions, or you're looking to bridge that gap between innovation and where you are, look no further than the Science Policy Action Network. We are the very best at what we do. If you're looking for more information about the Science Policy Action Network, please check us out at www.span-inc.org. That is www.span-inc.org. Now, without further ado, let's just get right into it. And I have to first start off by saying thank you. Thank you to the audience that is growing. People have tuned in to check out our episodes, and it means just so very much to me. When we were coming up with this idea of bringing thought leaders and policymakers together to have conversations about how they got to where they are and issues that matter most to them. We really did it from a, a point of selfishness, quite honestly, because we wanted to learn more about the world around us. And we quickly started realizing that, okay, this is an opportunity for us to share critical information to folks at a time where information is more important than ever. And I know that you might be thinking that, what do you mean? Information has always been important. But the reason why I say more important than ever, because information is being generated at a higher volume than perhaps ever before. And there are so many developments, so many advancements. It's a whirlwind going on right now. We are, in fact, living in unprecedented times. And so I considered it my duty, my honor and privilege to have the opportunity to bring in these experts, to bring in the policymakers, to have conversations about issues or topics that you may not see covered on, your nightly news or your local news, all of which are very important. But we just felt that it was critical to bring in different conversations. Many people haven't heard a sit down conversation with their local state rep, like we had an opportunity when we talked to State Rep Alan Boyncy, representing the Chapel Hill area in North Carolina, where we were able to just hear how he kind of got the notion, or he became motivated into getting into public service, and how he was thinking about, civil rights law, and then going into, serving at the municipal level before then going on to serving at the state level, and what that process was like, right? I am somebody who ran for office, right? And all I will say to you is, if you are sitting around waiting for change and you have not seen that change happen, or you are not seeing folks advocate for things that you feel should be advocated for, then perhaps your calling is public service. At the core of it is service. So if you want to do right by others, make your community a better place, then obviously I encourage you to check out episode 11 featuring talent, buoyancy, and also run for something. Commit yourself to public service. You might be telling yourself it's not for you, it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you feel that drive and you feel that deep burning desire to do it, then get out there and do it. Overcome your fears. It will be challenging. But at the end of the day, I think the regret that you may feel for not throwing your hat into the ring will be even more painful than not going for it at all. Well, that's just the state level. We also had an opportunity to talk about governance at the local level by talking to future county commissioner Stephen Valentine, and that was an amazing opportunity to hear about what is going on at the county level. Obviously, what influenced him to run for this particular position. Also, we talked about how his service in the military influenced that decision to run and how that impacts the way he views leadership. We also just talked about what it's like being an academic and going into public service. And then also being an educator as well, something that's very important. And speaking of education, we also had the opportunity to talk to Lauren Fox of the amazing organization, the North Carolina Forum on Public Education. Lauren Fox leads the conversations on policy. She's a policy analyst. And we talked about her trajectory and the issues that that organization, which I have the honor and privilege of serving on the advisory board for, what that organization is trying to do. Listen, not everybody has children, but everybody was once a child. And not everybody went to public school, but many people do. And public education is incredibly important. And there are people on both sides of the fence, regardless of what issues affect our public education system. With that being said, if you're not paying attention to what's going on in public education, then I urge you to do so. Our children are incredibly important. We have a tendency to say our children are our future. So I think it is probably time that we put our money where our mouth is and really start focusing on what's going on with public education, support organizations that are doing good work, support people who are researching these areas, and more importantly, really support our educators who are absolutely incredible and wake up every single day working hard to make our lives better through educating our children who will ultimately be our leaders, our scientists, our doctors, and so on and so forth. So us pouring into them now is obviously an investment into our very own futures. And so, if you really want to know more about education, check out that episode featuring Lauren Fox. It was an amazing conversation. Amazing conversation. Oh, here's another one. I think we're just going to take a trip down memory lane and kind of recap all of our episodes. So speaking of instructors and professors and academics, we had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Charity Watkins of North Carolina Central University, where she was talking about how she got to where she is again, right? That academic route, becoming a professional, becoming a professor, but educating folks not at the K through 12 level as far as public education, but public education in regards to higher ed at one of our amazing universities, North Carolina Central University. She describes what teaching is like, but also her role in making sure that women's health is at the forefront and center of conversations and your attention. And she talked about her service on the amazing nonprofit located right here in Durham, North Carolina, Equity Before Birth. Again, if you didn't know, at the end of every kind of recap, I'm going to encourage you to check out those episodes. You know, you are excused from not knowing something, right? There's a thing that has been said long before I was born, but I like to say it, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. But there's often no excuse, right? There's no excuse for when information is available not to gobble it up to make yourself a better person. And obviously, that's why we put together this podcast. So if you just want to know more about women's health, if you want to know more about education or the amazing people doing that work, check out these amazing episodes. You can check out that episode. You can check it out on the Science Policy Action Network's Facebook page. You can also check those episodes out on the Science Policy Action Network YouTube page or YouTube channel. Or if you're on LinkedIn and you follow Richard Watkins, I every week post links to the YouTube video. So there's no excuse to emerge from the week not knowing more than you did the week before. No excuse at all, right? And this is not from me. These are from experts who study and do this work for a living. So these are just really, really important. We also just have episodes where I come in and talk to you just like I'm doing right now. One of those episodes was, and we've only done about three of them. I think one of them I introduced the podcast. This one is a recap and kind of like a celebratory lap because I'm just so excited about what we've been able to accomplish. And even more excited about what we are going to be able to do, the people that we're going to be able to bring in. But we did have one episode where we sat down and we talked about issues that were just right there. And two of those big issues were how we actually determine who's going to be the next president. I know we talk about it all the time, but it's kind of funny how few people actually know how the process even works. Even though we feel that we know how it works, we very quickly, once we start, peeling back the onion, we realize, oh no, we really have no clue how it works, right? And with the DNC or the Democratic National Convention coming up, that will be an episode that you might want to check out. But regardless, obviously, participation in the electoral process is absolutely critical. And if you want to know, obviously, more about how the commander in chief is made the commander in chief, I urge you to check out that episode. But that was only one part of the episode. We covered two really big topics. The other half of that episode was about the tech company NVIDIA, one of the most valuable companies in the entire world, right? So you really want to know how things move. You have to start observing technologies, innovations, disruptive technologies that really take over everything, right? And so one of those technologies, one of those innovations, obviously, is artificial intelligence. And that is made possible in large part by the technology company NVIDIA, right? So if you want to learn more about one of the most influential companies in the entire world, one of the most valuable companies in the entire world that you perhaps have not heard about, then check it out. I know all the folks out there who play video games may have heard about NVIDIA. NVIDIA was very, very involved with the gaming industry, making it possible to have graphics that look amazing to the point now. If you're not keeping up with gaming, but perhaps I think that might be a topic that we should cover very soon because I know folks of a certain age look at video games and gamings and they just shrug their shoulders like, well, why do you care about this? But the gaming industry is enormous. There have been reports that show that the video game industry is more valuable than many professional sports industries combined. And so it's just really, really cool, and especially with technologies getting to where they are, where the graphics that you're seeing on these video games are becoming increasingly indistinguishable from real life. And NVIDIA played a huge role in that. But talking about being indistinguishable from real life, we have to go back to artificial intelligence. Indistinguishable from real life. My goodness, this is one of the biggest breakthroughs that humanity has ever seen artificial intelligence, we had an opportunity to talk to Professor Tiffany Barnes of North Carolina State about that, a leader in that field, a leader in that field. And she really focuses on how AI can be incorporated into education to explain how important that it is that we are having those conversations, right? And feels that these conversations are not having or not being had enough at a high enough volume and with enough frequency, right? For it to actually come close to meeting the urgent needs of now. She also explained how the inability or our lack of attention to artificial intelligence in our K through 12 educational system will widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots, right? And so we've got a technology that comes with it extraordinary power and is an extraordinary tool, an extraordinary tool. And what can happen is that advantaged groups can already have a leg up on their less advantaged counterparts. You insert into that one of the most powerful tools that has ever been created, and you have a widening of the chasm that exists between folks who have opportunities or folks who have money and folks who do not. Artificial intelligence is absolutely critical. And as Tiffany Barnes put it, it is getting to the point where it is indistinguishable from human performance, or you're not able to tell the difference between a human and an AI system. It's really, really incredible. And if you interact with social media at all, I advise you to exercise caution at times because it's very hard to know whether or not the image or the information that you're sharing is authentic or whether or not it has been created by artificial intelligence. But as for many things there are to be worried about artificial intelligence, there are just as many reasons to be excited about artificial intelligence. And we're really excited about the folks who are doing the work and advancing those fields. But these fields are being advanced because people are doing the work. But historically, not every group has been allowed to participate in scientific research, which we had the opportunity to talk to Ainsley Cisniak of Speak Out Sisterhood, the CEO and founder of that organization that is working very, very hard to increase the representation of women in STEM. While women in the workforce represent close to 50% of the workforce, they represent a little over 20% of the STEM workforce, which is a huge, huge problem because when you are not allowing everyone to participate in the STEM workforce, which is a workforce that in large part has a lot to do with finding technologies and breakthroughs and innovations, you decrease the likelihood that you will find those innovations. You'll decrease those likelihoods that you'll find those cures, that you'll find those solutions, right? And so that organization, which the Science Policy Action Network is proud to be partners with, is an incredible organization, and the work that they are doing is absolutely fantastic. I urge you to check them out. You can find them on Instagram, you can find them on LinkedIn. They are absolutely everywhere doing amazing work. And also, if you want to learn more about the things that they do, please, please, please check out that episode, right? Again, you can check out every single episode of the Richard Watkins podcast on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can find the links to the YouTube channel on LinkedIn. And episodes premiere every single week on Friday. So go ahead and set your calendar to get all of this amazing information. Talking about groups that have not necessarily been incorporated into the research enterprise. It's conversations about environmental justice and environmental equity and how that has been applied to historically marginalized groups, such as Indigenous people throughout the country, specifically here in North Carolina, where we had an opportunity to talk with Duke professor Ryan Emanuel. That was an amazing conversation, a North Carolina native who does research on our precious, precious, precious natural resources, but looks at it through the lens of environmental justice. If you don't know what environmental justice is, then you need to check out Ryan Emanuel's episode. But very briefly, it's all about equity of natural resources and land, right? How are we looking at it? What communities are being poisoned? What communities are spared from having a factory near them or a landfill near them, and how those decisions are made? And how are we keeping track of the impact of those decisions? Dr. Ryan Emanuel had an amazing episode. And again, I was very honored, proud, and privileged to be able to have that conversation with him. I no longer think about environmental justice the exact same way because of the work of Ryan Emanuel. So if you want to know more about Indigenous rights, if you want to know more about environmental justice, please, please, please check out that episode. It was an incredible, incredible, incredible episode. Along the lines of natural resources, there are a few resources more precious than the air that we all breathe. So we had an opportunity to talk to Will Vizette of University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, who specializes in air quality. Specifically, he studies particulates, so small you can't see them with your eye, but they are in the air and you are breathing them in on a daily basis. And those particulates have an impact on your health. In fact, he describes that many of the diseases that have us going into the emergency room in the hospital or seeking medical attention are due to these particulates in the air. So air quality is a huge, huge thing. And we learned so much about that. We also talked a little bit about how those things are affected and how, the things that we do every single day impact the air that we breathe. But most importantly, and I really want you to focus on this, communities of color, communities that find themselves on the lower rungs of the socioeconomic ladder, they often bear the brunt of these air quality concerns. Obviously, this is something that we hear about all the time, whether it's from professors at North Carolina Central, professors at Duke, UNC, as we go and talk throughout the country. We'll hear more about this, but equity is a huge, huge, huge thing. Now, let's see, is there anybody that I missed? I think we covered everyone. Listen, as someone who loves learning, as someone who likes knowing about the world around him, but more importantly, loves to talk to people doing the amazing work that they do. This podcast has been an incredible privilege to be able to do. So one more time, huge shout out to all of our guests, Alan Boyncey, Ainsley Cisniak, Ryan Emanuel, Charity Watkins, Lauren Fox, Stephen Valentine. Wait, I left one out. Jeff Warren, director of the North Carolina Collaboratory. Oh my goodness. Great, great individual. They are tackling the biggest issues and challenges that face the state of North Carolina, whether it's PFAS or the contaminants of different soils and waters and so on and so forth. The North Carolina Collaboratory are handling those very difficult challenges. And we really just kind of not only talked about the collaboratory, but talked about how a graduate student broke into the world of science policy and really created their own vision for what science policy could do, and left us with this nugget of wisdom that says the only way to learn about science policy is to do science policy. Obviously, science policy is in our namesake, Science Policy Action Network. And so that episode was absolutely amazing. Check that episode out. as well. After Devon, we had Tiffany Barnes with artificial intelligence and Will Lizette. Thank you so very much for all of you, not only for the time that you spent with us, but thank you so much for the work that you do as it makes all of our lives better. Like I said, we're really, really excited. I have to give a huge shout out to Sam Evans. Sam Evans works behind the scenes, making sure that we get these speakers together. He sends out a lot of emails, trying to make sure that they show up and schedule according to their convenience, because as I said, they're very, very busy individuals. But going forward, we are going to continue to bring you the highest quality content from the greatest minds that we can find. And we will desperately work hard to present you information that you may not see in other places. So if you're one of those people who understands that the more that they learn, the more they realize how little they know, and the more they know they have to continue to seek new information, then please follow us. Check us out, the Richard Watkins podcast, dropping every single Friday of every single week on Facebook and on YouTube. And we will be expanding. And of course, we will be sure to let you know. But from me to you, I just want to thank you all for spending, whether it's 45 minutes to an hour with us each and every week. I am very, very grateful. And again, we will work very hard to bring to you the best possible content, the best possible interviews that we can do. Thank you all so very much. I've been your humble host, Richard Watkins. Thank you so very much for joining us. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Take care.